And joining me now exclusively is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to start right there on the jobs numbers. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett told me in an interview the numbers look, quote, weak. And you just heard me say there that Moody's chief economist called this a jobs recession. I want to give you the opportunity to respond to Mark Zandi. Do you see this as a jobs recession?
Well, Kristen, when I was here with you in April, there was a panic because the stock market had gone down, and you remained pretty calm, but a lot of other mainstream media people were in a complete lather over the stock market performance. President Trump held the views on tariffs. He was proven right. We had the quickest stock market recovery in history. We're at new highs in August, and we're not going to do economic policy off of one number. We believe that good policies are in place that are going to create good, high-paying jobs for the American people. Two, let's look at the efficacy of this number. August is the noisiest month of the year. Typically, the highest revisions come in August. That's why it's important that we have good data. Austin Goolsbee, who's head of the Chicago Fed and probably the most partisan person at the Federal Reserve in leadership, came out and said, I don't know if these numbers were that weak. I don't know if I'm going to vote for a cut in September because it may have something to do with the immigration deportations. So this is why we need good data. Three, if in fact these numbers are true, it shows that President Trump was right about the Federal Reserve. They are too late. And because of the bad numbers, they likely would have been cutting in June. And if we believe the numbers, and four, I can tell you the one thing this administration is not going to do, and we are not going to let the Democrat media surrogates do, is during President Biden, President Harris's campaign, they told the American people, it's a vibe session. You don't understand how good you have it. President Trump was elected for change, and we are going to push through with the economic policies that are going to set the economy right. I believe by the fourth quarter, we're going to see a substantial acceleration.
Okay, well, we'll have you back definitely to check back in with you then. But let me drill down a little bit more on these numbers, Mr. Secretary. The president said that these tariffs are going to spark a manufacturing renaissance, he called it. But since he announced them in April, the U.S. has actually lost 42,000 manufacturing jobs. Are these numbers proof that the tariffs are failing to produce the manufacturing jobs that President Trump promised?
Again, Kristen, it's been a couple of months, and with the manufacturing sector, as you know, we can't snap our fingers and have factories built. So what we are seeing is a record amount of investment intentions. We've seen a CapEx boom in the first half of the year, and I think that was actually held back. The One Big Beautiful Bill, which has full expensing for factories and equipment, was passed on July 4th. Many companies were holding back then. So we are going to see construction jobs and we're going to see manufacturing jobs.
But Mr. Secretary, the economy did add nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs under former President Biden. In this case, since April, again, you're actually losing manufacturing jobs. Is that problematic for your policy?
Well, a couple of things, Chris. We're going to get the revisions for last year next week, and there may be as big as an 800,000 job downward revision. Again, this would be the second downward revision, so I'm not sure what these people who collect the data have been doing. It's good. We need good data. Secondly, what we are seeing is the jobs that are being created are going to either native-born or legal Americans. Most of the jobs created under the Biden administration, they went to illegal aliens.
Well, and I think that there would be a lot of debate over the fact that they went to illegal aliens. But let's keep moving.
No. That's the fact.
Okay, let's keep moving, though, because I want to talk about what U.S. companies are saying right now, Mr. Secretary. The New York Times wrote this about John Deere, the impact that tariffs are having on that company. Quote, last month, John Deere said net income in its most recent quarter was down 29% from a year earlier. Higher tariffs have cost the company $300 million so far, with nearly another $300 million expected by the end of the year. This summer, the company laid off 238 employees across factories in Illinois and Iowa. What do you say to companies like John Deere who say these tariffs are hurting them?
Well, first of all, Kristen, if you're quoting the New York Times, that's not a fair observer. And two, that
but these are statistics.
That's
this is about John Deere. That's not about the New York Times.
That's one company that they have cherry picked. At Treasury, we have about 2 management teams come through a day, and overwhelmingly, we are hearing from companies they plan to increase capex, they plan to increase employment. We are seeing what's going to be a record amount of foreign direct investment. And for every John Deere, we have companies who are telling us the tariffs have helped our business, we're increasing capex, and we're going to increase employment.
But, Mr. Secretary, it's not just John Deere. We've heard from a lot of different companies around the country. Nike says that tariffs will cost the company around $1 billion this year. Black & Decker says $800 million. The big 3 automakers all say they've had to pay more than $2 billion in tariffs. The list goes on and on. Bottom line, do you acknowledge that these tariffs amount to a tax on the American people?
Well, first of all, let's back up, because what we've seen, for instance, the Japanese automakers have said they're eating the tariffs.
But these companies say they're eating the tariffs. These American companies.
They're eating the tariffs. So, and again, there are numerous companies who are doing the opposite. You know, you're taking these from earnings calls, and on earnings calls, they have to give the draconian scenario. There aren't companies coming out and saying, oh, because of the tariffs, we're doing this. But I can tell you that whether it's Micron or Apple, they are upping their investments in the United States. And, you know, Kristen, if things are so bad, why was the GDP 3.3%? Why is the stock market at a new high? Because, you know, with President Trump, we care both about big companies and small companies. And you're quoting big companies, but the big company index, the S&P, is at a new high.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay. All right. I do want to talk to you about the battle playing out in the courts. I know you've been deeply involved in this. The so-called reciprocal tariffs suffered a big setback when an appeals court ruled they were illegal because tariffs are a tax and only Congress can impose taxes unless it explicitly gives that power to the president. You're appealing the Supreme Court now. What is your plan if President Trump's tariffs are struck down by the high court?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Kristen. So let's do it in a couple of segments. One, the president is using something called IEPA, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. And thus far, we have 2 kinds of tariffs. There's the fentanyl tariffs and the reciprocal tariffs. So I'm not sure on what planet this fentanyl crisis, with 200,000 Americans being killed every year, this poison coming across the border, why can the president not use tariffs to stop that? 2, on the reciprocal tariffs, we have reached a tipping point in terms of our trade balance. That is what has created the emergency situation, and we are trying to bring the trade into balance.
But, Mr. Secretary, I hear you talking about fentanyl, but these tariffs apply to practically every single country around the globe. But let me ask you, if the Supreme Court rules against you on these tariffs, is the administration prepared to offer rebates?
So, Kristen, I am confident that we will win at the Supreme Court, but there are numerous other avenues that we can take. They diminish President Trump's negotiating position, but there are numerous in terms of, and remember, this isn't about the dollars, this is about balance. The dollars are an after amount.
Would you offer rebates, though? Are you prepared to offer rebates?
So we would have to give a refund on about half the tariffs, which would be terrible for the Treasury.
And you're prepared to give those refunds?
Well, I mean, there's no be prepared. If the court says it, we'd have to do it. But, you know, let's look back. Again, when I was here in April, the sky was falling with the tariffs, that everyone is leaving the U.S. Since then, the U.S. bond market has been the best performing bond market in the developed world. And from Barclays Bank to Goldman Sachs to others are saying it is the tariff income and the fiscal improvement that we are seeing. And that's what President Trump is talking about.
We're almost out of time, and I do have a couple more questions to get to. Fed Chair Jerome Powell's term ends in May. On Friday, you started interviewing potential successors. Do you want a Fed chair who will factor in the president's input when it comes to setting interest rates? Is that what you're looking for?
We want someone who has an open mind and will factor in different policies. Because, you know, you go back and you look, Alan Greenspan in the 90s, they realized that we were in the midst of a productivity boom with the internet, with office equipment being used. I think that we are in the midst of an AI productivity boom. So we want someone with an open mind. We have seen that the Fed, as I wrote in the Wall Street Journal on Friday and in a longer article in the International Economy, has consistently overstated or overestimated GDP when Democrats are in office, consistently underestimated GDP when Republicans are in office. So we need to get rid of this orthodoxy that has led them to so many mistakes.
You talk about what you wrote in the Wall Street Journal. You say the Fed's independence comes from public trust, but it's worth pointing out the president has consistently criticized Fed Chair Jerome Powell, has leaned on him to lower interest rates. He's trying to get rid of Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Bottom line, Mr. Secretary, will the Fed chair set interest rates, or will President Trump?
The Fed chair doesn't set interest rates. The FOMC sets interest rates. So it is a board.
Should President Trump have a say?
And the President Trump is going to make his views known, just like President Biden did. President Biden in the State of the Union, his last State of the Union, said he thought there was going to be an interest rate cut. Senator Warren called for a 75 basis interest rate cut this year.
All right. Last question. Russia. Overnight, Russia hit Kyiv in the largest aerial attack on the country since the war began, Mr. Secretary. It caused NATO, in fact, to scramble jets. You have a very high-stakes meeting on Monday with key economic officials from European countries. Is the administration prepared to impose sanctions against Russia now?
President Trump, Vice President Vance had a very productive call with EU President Ursula von der Leyen on Friday. She followed up with a call with me. And we are talking about what can the two EU and the U.S. do together. And we are prepared to increase pressure on Russia, but we need our European partners to follow us, because if the U.S. and the EU do this together, we are in a race now between how long can the Ukrainian military hold up versus how long can the Russian economy hold up. And if the U.S. and the EU can come in, do more sanctions, secondary tariffs on the countries that buy Russian oil, the Russian economy will be in full collapse, and that will bring President Putin to the table.
Okay. All right. Mr. Secretary, there with some big news on Russia. We really appreciate your stopping by. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.